Are you kidding me? I said the most brilliant things in the world. God, I had everything perfect. Except for that. Well, actually, I didn't. I'm sorry. God, everything was going to be so nice. Dang it. All right, well, let me start over again. I'll make it shorter. Welcome to Lolo's Lounge. Welcome to Bedtime with Lolo. Here at Bedtime with Lolo, it's one of our programs at the Lolo Lounge Media Empire that Marilyn McLiberty West, yeah, right? Marilyn McLiberty? Wait, I don't get it. Marilyn McLiberty. I think I get it. Anyway, so welcome to Lolo's Lounge. Yeah, come up and get free sometime. Come up and get some democracy. Let me punch your ballot. No, that's not right, because that's like cheating. That's not right. That's not right. Anyway, so at Lolo's Lounge, the media empire known as the Loloverse. I mean, I might as well call it that. I don't know why I'm waiting for someone to call it a media empire. I don't know why I'm waiting for someone to call it the Loloverse. I should just go ahead and claim those right now. So, here at the Loloverse, one of our programs is Bedtime with Lolo. And what we do is we take a book that we want to read, and I will not read any books unless I read them to someone, because I don't make time to read, even though I really do love learning and I want to learn something new every day. I think it's hilarious that I spent 5 minutes on silent. I'm so sorry, everyone. Hopefully there was really nobody in here until later. Anyway, so Bedtime with Lolo is where we take a book that we want to read. I read a few chapters a night, hopefully in calm voice, so that you can relax and end your day on an on a relaxing note. I don't know. Sometimes the books are not so relaxing either, but the point is, never mind. The point is that this is a program where I'll make commentary over the book, and also read it in hushed tones. So I do recommend it for 18 over, just because of strong language. I think high school students would do well to read this, actually, but in the interest of caution, I would recommend 18 plus, because it's some pretty interesting situations. So in this series, Bedtime with Lolo, we began with Prequel by Rachel Maddow, which was the story of the rise of Nazis in America. I know, just a little light reading, nothing, just democracy. And then we went to Democracy Awakening by Heather Cox Richardson, who's a great author and professor of history at Boston University. So we read her book, which is about the challenges to democracy that we've experienced over our history. You should follow the Cathead family of company brand instantations example. The Cathead family. What does that mean? That's not what I think it is, right? Okay, I'm not going to say. Anyway, no, I like the business thing. Yeah, never mind. Anyway, so we've now moved on, and aren't you lucky? You're here for the beginning of the book. We've only read, well, believe it or not, we've read 10 chapters, but they're very, very short, most of them. So it isn't as much as you think. We've only had 2 sessions. Normally the sessions will be about an hour and a half, so we'll read as much as we can, although I certainly do chat, so I kind of tend to fill it up. But we usually get through a chapter or 2 a night. And this one's a long one, so it's a good one to get involved in. This book is Kim Stanley Robinson's The Ministry for the Future. Kim Stanley Robinson is a renowned science fiction writer and climate. I don't know if he's a climatologist per se, but climate is definitely in his wheelhouse. And this book takes a kind of a novelization, like a fictional approach to climate crises beginning to erupt and how people respond. in different parts of the world. And so it does it through story. And I think that's a great switch up for us after a couple of nonfiction, straight up nonfiction. Now we're kind of delving into a fiction book. And yet it's still a very, very serious topic. But really a great, really well written, and really grateful. Oomph, thankfully, found this book and sent it as a recommendation. And I think it is great. So anyway, that's what we do here at Lolo's Lounge, and here specifically Bedtime with Lolo. So and we're not technically proficient, so sorry about that. But you know what? We're very human, and we sing once in a while to make up for it. Maybe make a joke. So hopefully you'll find something you like. But welcome. We have 20 viewers. Some of you are on Twitter. Thank you, Elmo, for letting me in your back door. Love you. So I could go on Twitter and share this content with more people. That's for me, the benefit for Twitter is that we have a larger audience on Twitter. And so it's great to have viewers come in. So please share the broadcast with everyone and enjoy. Hi, CF. How are you? Greeblings. Greeblings. But yeah, now you're a member, you're an official lounger if you're here. So come on over to YouTube. The chat is really lovely. These sessions, we don't have a heavy chat because what I really want is for people to relax after a long day. For those of you in the kind of stateside regions, time zones, but I know we have a lot of friends in Australia. I know it's probably the middle of your day or something. I don't know, but it's something not nighttime. So you may be taking a nap, and this would be perfect for a nap. But this is really a time that I want to share media literacy, which is really a theme of my channel, and trying to increase media literacy and people thinking about where are they getting their information, what facts do they know, et cetera, et cetera. Tomorrow is election day. Oh, do you have some kind of thing? Jim, is that Florida? I don't know. I don't want to dox you, but I thought maybe you might be in Florida. Oh my gosh, if you have an election day tomorrow, please vote. Please vote. I don't care if it's for dog catcher, which is that's probably a really important role, by the way. I wouldn't want to assume that dog catcher. Maryland. Oh, that is important. Yeah, you've got some stuff happening there, don't you? Don't you? Oh no, Jim Justice is West Virginia. Sorry, is this a primary, a special election? It must be a special election, right? Or is it a primary? I'm so sorry. I don't know. I should know more about what the schedule is. But thanks, Jim, for that. Yeah. Definitely a theme here at Lolo's Lounge is vote. Voting rights matter. And it is peak privilege to dismiss the power of voting when you've not had it. So don't be a privileged Bloviate. Vote, because someone's life depends on that vote. And guess what? Roe's gone. That's my only campaign pledge this year. Or my campaign message this year is Roe's gone. So fucking vote. And guess what? I'm voting Biden. So vote. Maryland primary. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I read something about Jim Justice today, but I can't recall something. I think he was running or maybe this fall. I don't really know. Poor West Virginia. Pretty state. I mean, the thing about the East Coast is it's so pretty. We also smoke weed on this channel. This channel is very 420 friendly. We're not in a rush. Not at all. Let's see, tomorrow. What do I have tomorrow? I don't even know. I don't even know if I can see my schedule. My schedule, money. I cannot believe I had the sound off for the first 5 minutes. God, I'm such a fucking idiot. Man, I really wish that I had, I guess I should write a checklist. I I really spent some time this afternoon, like trying to organize my 3 different scenarios for the different types of programming. Because we have the daily down Lolo, which is when we cover like congressional hearings or trials or whatever, or I read a document or something, you know, like original sources. And then gaming is when I play with Lolo, is when I do games because I like to fail at games a lot. And then bedtime with Lolo is where we read stories. So yeah, that's what it is. Okay, wait. What was I doing? Shit. What was I doing? Maybe this time I'll be lucky. Maybe this time I'll remember. No, I'll recall. Maybe this time, for the first time, my keys aren't in the hall. I need the lyrics to be more... That's a hard song to sing without. All of my air tags I can't locate. There's no keys to be found. That sounds terrible. I'm gonna find them. Find those keys now. I'm gonna find them right now. Everybody loves a finder, so nobody loved me. Oh, wait. Lady, peaceful lady, lady, peaceful lady, happy. You know, that's what I long to be. No, my keys aren't in your car seat. Didn't you go before we left? Oh, wait, you didn't leave because you don't have your keys. No, thank you. See, that's not my key. I'm gonna find them someday. Maybe someday I'll win. That's a great song, actually. I know, impromptu musical theater. Hey, what do you want to hear next? Because I could make up words to a lot of musicals songs. You know what one of my favorite musicals is? Sweet Charity. Have you ever... first of all, you have to see the movie. If you haven't seen the movie Sweet Charity with... oh my God. What's her name? What the fuck is her name? Shirley MacLaine. If you haven't seen Sweet Charity with Shirley MacLaine, you're missing out. Because that's one of the best... Like, I don't love musicals, actually. I love to sing, but I don't love musicals. But that's such a great fucking... Like, what's that one song? I gotta look it up, because I really like it. I'm sorry. This is what I do. Welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. Please share the broadcast. We'll get to the relaxing part in a minute. First, I have to be a ham bone. I'd like to be a ham bone. I mean, would I be here if I wasn't a ham bone? Really? Is that how this works? I mean, I am an introvert. I need to, like, regroup. Okay, wait. Let me see. What is it? Sweet Charity. It's really a good musical. I mean, and I really do not like music. I'm not a musical fan. I mean, I will not... The only musical I sat in a theater really for, like, didn't leave before it was over, was Hadestown, which is an amazing musical, by the way. I highly recommend... If you are in New York, see Hadestown. I don't care. What? Oh, my God. Careful, y'all. Sweet.charity is actually a website, and you shouldn't go to it. I'm sorry. Okay, wait. Sweet Charity songs. What is the songs? The minute you walked in the joint, I could tell you were a man of distinction, a real big spender. Good looking, so refined. Say, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for every guy I see. Hey, big spender, spend a little time with me. I mean, Bob Fosse, stop it. I'm a fucking huge Fosse fan. Now, I will watch Fosse dancing and Fosse choreography all day long. I just don't need to go to see company. We could go to Orpheus and... Oh, yeah! Orpheus and Eurydice. I don't know. One day in Hadestown the next. Oh, yes. Wouldn't that be great? Oh, my God. That would be so good. Now, here's the one thing I do love. Live theater. I love weird fucking off, deep in the heart of Brooklyn, deep in the heart of the, Lower East Side, like way Lower East Side. Like, I like the most experimental, weirdest fucking theater ever. I like Shakespeare done as, like, I like all kinds of like I like theater. I don't like, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Let's see. What's the song? I don't know which song it was. There's a song in Sweet Charity that I thought was actually pretty, I just can't seem to remember it right now. But there's a song in Sweet Charity that's very poignant, and I can't recall what it is right now. But anyway, highly recommend if you feel like just watching an old fucking musical that probably has some problematic scenes. So I apologize in advance for those, because I feel like I can't watch a movie from the old days at all without some fucking problematic shit that white people put in movies. So I apologize for that. And I hope we can figure out how to address that. But anyway, Sweet Charity, I don't recall if there's problematic, but I just can imagine, given the timing of those movies, there feels like there's something that really shouldn't be there. So maybe we'll learn. Maybe someday. I don't like Chicago. I've never been a Chicago fan. I don't mind like the tango, whatever that cell block tango and all that kind of stuff. And I hate... Oh, God. I hate Les Mis. Okay, I said it. I hate Les Mis. And I hate Phantom of the Opera. I'm sorry. I could probably get through singing a couple of the songs, but I wouldn't enjoy it. No, that's not true. I wouldn't enjoy it. But I don't really love... I don't like cats. I mean, I like cats. I don't like Wendy's. What's Wendy's? What's Wendy's? Wendy's? Now you're making me hungry. No, just kidding. I don't eat Wendy's. But yeah, anyway. So there's the musical interlude for you. 23 minutes. Well, actually less than 5 minutes of silence in the beginning because I didn't know how to turn the sound on. But I kept talking anyway because I didn't notice. But I changed my setup from last night, or whenever I was playing the game. When was that? Oklahoma. Oh, I do like Oklahoma. I do like Carousel. I love me some Carousel. If I loved you, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Oh, wait, I think that's another musical. Round in circles I'd go if I loved you. something to tell you, but afraid and shy, I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me, off you would go in a mist of haze, never, never to know how I loved you, if I loved you. I love that song. That's such a pretty song. I pretty much have always dreamed. I listened to so much Barbra Streisand when I was younger. I used to listen to musical records all the time. Oh, it's a beautiful song. I mean, it's really a beautiful song. I think it's Rodgers and Hammerstein, wasn't it? Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know who wrote Carousel. It's a great musical, though. It's a good one. There's some good songs in The King and I, too, but oh my God. Jesus Christ. Criminy. I don't know. Don Giovanni, I killed your father. I always think of that from Mozart. Don Giovanni, I killed your father. Jerome Kern. Ah, yes! Fuck. That guy could write a fucking song. Fuck. That guy could write a fucking song. Jesus. What else did he write? Well, I'm not going to go. This isn't a musical theater night. I apologize. I'm kind of taking up your time with my canoodling. All the things you are. All the things you are. Wait, hold on. Hold on, because I like singing, so I don't even care. Oh, whoops. Whoops. Oh, you know what, though? I will say this, and I know that those of you who know me, you will know what I'm talking about. What is that? Is that? Oh, Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein. And then the other one, what is it? And this is from, I think this is from Blah, Blah, Blah. We kiss in a shadow, we hide from the moon. Our meetings are few and over too soon. I have dreamed. Oh, that's a good one. I wonder if that's Jerome Kern too. Now I'm just curious. Oh, that's Rodgers and Hammerstein. I see how embarrassing that I don't know that. I don't know the tune to All the Things You Are. I think I would know it if I heard it, but off the top of my head, CF, I can't recall it. Let me listen to it. Hold on. I like to do requests. It makes me... Oh, wait. Here we go. Videos. Okay, now I know what it is. All right. I know what that song is. I don't know if I know the entire song, But I'd have to learn that one. But I know the song. Yeah, it's a good one. It goes. Let's see. Oops. Wait, what did I say? Ah, ah. Sorry, I didn't mean to make noises like that. What's the songs? What's the songs? You know where too soon I have. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh no, this is going to be hard, okay? Because this one goes up and I probably am going to start off too high. And so I'm going to just set this up for complete failure. So take a ride with me down the complete failure train. Come on down. Let me make you feel better about your singing by fucking this song up. Okay. Wait, that's already too high. I have dreamed that your arms are lovely. I have dreamed what a joy you'd be. I have dreamed every word you whisper when you're close to me. How you look in the... Wait. Oh, that's not right. In these dreams I have loved you. Wait. Oh, I messed up. So there you go. Welcome. Thank you. Welcome to Failure Theater. That's right. I gotta learn more songs. Actually, I have a song that I'm supposed to be recording, and I keep cleaning things and not actually setting up my just recording it. So maybe someday I'll finish that. But anyway, it's fun to sing in the meantime. But that's not what you came for. That's not what you came for. You came to hear a story. So I am going to tell you a story. So what I would love is for you to find a comfortable place. I'm going to actually put my little feet up on my little chair. Hold on. There we go. Oh, perfect. I'm going to sit kind of crisscross applesauce on my chair, which is really comfy. And I'm just going to let myself sink into my chair, and I want you to do the same. Or if you're laying in bed, let yourself kind of sink into the pillow. You know when you can almost feel your body take that deep breath, and then all of a sudden just float, or you just feel lighter, or you feel like you actually sunk a little deeper into the mattress. I love that feeling. I totally love that feeling. So I just want to tell you that your Monday is over. You did it. You got through the Monday. And that's a huge fucking accomplishment. Doesn't matter how easy it was, how hard it was. You did it. And all you have to do right now is relax. I'm going to drive. You don't have to think. I hope you fall asleep. Nothing would make me happier than to have people fall asleep and be completely relaxed. You don't need to chat there's no expectations of you. Let me drive. You sleep. Enjoy the fire. And just kind of let it wash over you. Just be human. Good way to start off the week. All right, let's get into it. The Ministry for the Future, Chapter 10. We took off from Beta and Darbhanga and INS Garuda and Gandhinagar, mostly in Ilyushin IL-78, bought long ago from the Soviet Union. Let me make this a little smaller. Hold on just a minute. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. But my heart's in the right place. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Alrighty. We had some Boeing and Airbus refuelers too. They were old planes, and it was very cold inside them. Our suits were old too. They were hard to move in, and hardly anything is insulation. We got very cold up there, but the flights were relatively short. We flew to 60,000 feet, as high as the planes could get. Higher would have been better, but we couldn't do it. It took a couple of hours, as we always carried a maximum load. 2 planes got caught in the so-called coffin corner and stalled catastrophically, and one of the crews didn't get out. Once up there, we deployed the fuel lines and pumped the aerosols into the air. The plumes looked like dumped fuel at first, but they were really aerosol particulates. We were told mostly sulfur dioxide and then some other chemicals, like from a volcano, but there wasn't ash like in a volcanic explosion. It was a mix made to stay up there and reflect sunlight, manufactured at Bhopal and elsewhere in India. We flew most of our missions over the Arabian Sea, so the prevailing winds of late summer would carry the stuff over India before anywhere else. We wanted that. It was for us we were doing it, and some felt we might also avoid some criticism by doing it that way. But soon enough, what we released would get carried by the winds all over the stratosphere, mostly in the northern hemisphere, but eventually everywhere. There it would be deflecting some sunlight. Even in India, you could hardly see any difference in the sky. For all our lives, we were living under the ABC, the Asian brown cloud, so we were used to dusty skies. Our operation only made things a little whiter by day, and the sunsets were sometimes more red than before. Quite beautiful on certain days. But mostly things looked the same. The sunlight we detected to space was said to be about 1/5 of 1% of the total incoming. Very important, crucial stuff, but it's not really possible to see a difference that small. Global effect was said to be like Pinatubo's eruption in 1991, or some said a double Pinatubo. The total release was taken to the stratosphere in several thousand individual missions. We had a fleet of only 200 planes, so we each went up scores and scores of times, spread out over 7 months. That was a lot of work. Of course it was. Pretty small effort as these things go, and if it helped to prevent another heat wave, it was worth doing. We knew that the Chinese hated the idea, and Pakistan, of course. Although we flew only when the jet streams were running toward the east or northeast, there were times when those countries lay in the path of dispersion. And all over the world, people pointed out that the ozone layer would get hurt, which would be bad for everyone. Once a heat-seeking missile flew right by our plane. Vikram dodged it at the last minute. The plane squealed like a cat. No one ever found out who shot it at us, but we didn't care. We did what we were told. We were happy to do it. Everyone had lost someone they knew in the heat wave. Even if they hadn't, it was India, and it could happen again, anywhere in India, and really anywhere in the world. As our officials told people over and over, even farther north a heat wave could strike. Europe once suffered one that killed 70,000 people, even though Europe is so far north. Well, more than half the land on Earth is at risk, so we did it. Day after day for 7 months, and round the clock, what with maintenance and refueling and the filling of the tanks. It was a routine that took many thousands of people working together. We got tired, exhausted, but we also got into the rhythm of it. There were enough crews to fly once out of every 3 missions per plane. For many weeks in the middle of it, it felt like it would go on forever. That is, that it was all we were ever meant to do. We felt like we were saving India and maybe saving the world. But it was India we were concerned with. No more deadly heat waves, so we hoped. It was a very emotional time. Now, if I go anywhere in the world and if someone speaks against what we did, I challenge them. You don't know anything, I tell them. It wasn't your people, so you don't care. But we know, and we care. And there hasn't been a heat wave like that since. One may come again, no doubt of that. But what we did what we could. We did the right thing. I must admit, I sometimes shout at people if they deny that. I damn them to hell, which is a place we in India have already seen. So I have no patience for people who object to what we did. They don't know what they're talking about. They haven't seen it, and we have. Chapter 11. Ideology, noun, an imaginary relationship to a real situation. In common usage, what the other person has, especially when systematically distorting the facts. But it seems to us that an ideology is a necessary feature of cognition, and if anyone were to lack one, which we doubt, they would be badly disabled. There is a real situation that can't be denied, but it is too big for any individual to know in full, so we must create our understanding by way of an act of the imagination. So we all have an ideology, and this is a good thing. So much information pours into the mind, ranging from sensory experience to discursive and mediated inputs of all kinds, that some kind of personal organizing system is necessary to make sense of things in ways that allow one to decide and to act. Worldview, philosophy, religion, these are all synonyms for ideology as defined above. And so is science, although it's the different one, the special one, by way of its perpetual cross-checking with reality tests of all kinds and its continuous sharpening of focus. That surely makes science central to a most interesting project, which is to invent, improve, and put to use an ideology that explains in a coherent and useful way as much of the blooming, buzzing inrush of the world as possible. What one would hope for in an ideology is clarity and explanatory breadth and power. We leave the proof of this as an exercise for the reader. Chapter 12. Bypassing the imaginary relationship part for a moment, what about the real situation? Unknowable, of course, as per above. But consider this aspect of it. Recent extinctions include the Saudi gazelle, the Japanese sea lion, the Caribbean monk seal, and Christmas Island pipistrelle, the bramble K. millimus, the vaquita porpoise, the Alagoas foliage gleaner, the cryptic tree hunter, Spix's macaw, the pauti, the northern white rhino, the mountain tapir, the Haitian solenodon, the giant otter, Atwater's prairie chicken, the Spanish lynx, the Persian fallow deer, the Japanese crested ibis, the Arabian oryx, the snub-nosed monkey, the Ceylon elephant, the Indris, Zanzibar's red colobus, the mountain gorilla, and white-throated wallaby, the walla ibex, the ii, the vicuna, the giant panda, the monkey-eating eagle, an estimated 200 more species of mammals, 700 species of birds, 400 species of reptiles, 600 species of amphibians, and 4,000 species of plants. The current rate of extinctions compared to the geological norm is now several thousand-fold faster, making this the 6th great mass extinction event in Earth's history, and thus the start of the Anthropocene in its clearest demarcation, which is to say, we are in a biosphere catastrophe that will be obvious in the fossil record for as long as the Earth lasts. Also, the mass extinction is one of the most obvious examples of things done by humans that cannot be undone, despite all of the experimental de-extinction efforts and the general robustness of life on Earth. Ocean acidification and deoxygenation are other examples of things done by humans that we can't undo, and the relation between this ocean acidification, deoxygenation, and the extinction event may soon become profound, in that the former may stupendously accelerate the latter. Evolution itself will, of course, eventually refill all these emptied ecological niches with new species. The pre-existing plenitude of speciation will be restored in less than 20 million years. I'm going to take a minute, take a smoke. That was chapter 12. Take a drink. Hello to everyone on Twitter and on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on over to YouTube, hang out, subscribe, just check it out. Or don't, and just relax and enjoy the rest of the reading. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Chapter 13. Anytime he broke a sweat, his heart would start racing, and soon enough he would be in the throes of a full-on panic attack. Pulse at 150 beats a minute or more. It didn't matter that he knew he was safe, and that this panic reaction was something that had happened long before. It didn't matter that he lived outside Glasgow now and had a job in a meat processing plant that gave him access to refrigerated rooms where the temperatures was kept just a few degrees above freezing. By the time an attack started, it was too late. His body and mind would be plunged instantly into another terrible tornado of biochemicals, pounding through his arteries like crystal meth at his paranoid worst. This was what people called post-traumatic stress disorder. He knew that. He had been told it many times. PTSD, the great effect of our time. As one of his therapists had once explained to him, one of the identifying characteristics of the disorder was that even when you knew it was happening to you, that didn't stop it from happening. In that sense, the therapist admitted, the naming of it was useless. Diagnosis was necessary, but not sufficient. And what might be sufficient wasn't at all clear. There were differing opinions, differing outcomes. No treatment had been shown to be fully effective, and most were still largely experimental procedures. Exposure to events like the event? No. He had tried this on a visit to Kenya, out every day in temperatures that crept closer and closer to the unlivable. That had resulted in daily panic attacks, and he had curtailed the trip and gone back to Glasgow. Virtual environments in which to explore aspects of the event? No. He had played video games that made him relive parts of the experience in ways he could control, but these games were as ugly as any M-rated travesty. Panic attacks were frequent, during the games or not. Rehearsal therapy. He had written accounts of the event while on beta blockers, repeating this exercise over and over. Sleepy all the time because of the beta blockers, memoirs, automatic writing. I tried to get people inside. I had a water tank in the closet. I hid what I had. The pistol barrel was a little black circle. Everybody was dead. No good. Just more blurry, sick, gasping panic attacks. More nightmares. About half the time he fell asleep, he had nightmares that woke him up in a cold sweat. Sometimes the images were sadistically cruel. After waking from one of these dreams, he had to try to warm back up. So he would wiggle his cold toes, toss and turn, try to forget the dream, try to get back to sleep. But it took hours, and sometimes it didn't work. The next day he would operate like a slow zombie, get through the day by working mindlessly or playing video games, mostly games in which he bounced from point to point in a low-G environment, asteroid hopping. His therapist talked about trigger events, about avoiding triggers. What they were glossing over with this too convenient metaphor was that life itself was just one long series of trigger events. That consciousness was the trigger. He woke up. He remembered who he was. He had a panic attack. He got over it, got on with his day as best he could. the command not to think about certain things was precisely a mode of thinking about that thing. Repression, forgetting. He had to learn to forget. Perpetual distraction was impossible. He wanted to get better, but he couldn't. Cognitive behavioral therapy was accepted by many as the best way to deal with PTSD, but CBT was hard. He pursued it like a religious calling, like a sidewalk over the abyss. One therapist said to him when he used that phrase, "Everyone walks that sidewalk over the abyss. That's life." "Mine's a tightrope," he replied. Focusing on balance was necessary at all times. In that sense, my nose itches. Distractions were actually contraindicated. If you were distracted enough, then a single misstep could send you plunging into the abyss. Constant vigilance. But this too was bad. It was just another way of thinking about it or paying attention to it. No, hypervigilance was part of the disorder. So there was no way out. No way but dreamless sleep or death. Or certain drugs. Anti-anxiety drugs were not the same as antidepressants. They were meant to foil the brain's uptake of fight or flight stimulants, to give consciousness a bit of time to calm the system down by realizing there was no real danger. These drugs had unwanted side effects, sure. Flatness of affect, yes. Flatness of affect, yes. It was even part of what you wanted. If you killed all feelings, the bad feelings would necessarily be among them and therefore less likely to appear, even if they were the first ones in line ready to pop. But if you did accomplish that flattening of all feeling, then what? March through life like an automaton, that's what. Eating like fueling an old car. Exercise hoping to get so tired you could fall asleep and make it through the night. Try not to think, try not to feel. So after many months of that, after years of that, he went back to India. He needed to try it to see if it would help. Until he tried it, he wouldn't know. It would be something like aversion therapy, or rather, immersion therapy. Go right back to the scene of the crime. Plus, he had an idea that had begun to obsess him. He had a plan. He landed at Delhi, took the train to Lucknow, got off at the station, and got on a crowded bus to his town. The sights and smells, the heat, humidity, they were all triggers, yes. But since consciousness was the real trigger, he steeled himself and looked out the bus's dusty window and felt the sweat pouring out of his skin, felt the air pulsing in and out of his lungs, felt his heart pound inside him like a child trying to escape. Take it. Live on. He got off at the bus stop at the town's central square. He stood there looking around. People were everywhere, all ages, Hindu and Muslim as before. The difference is subtle and sometimes not there at all. But his eye had been trained to note the signs, a tikka, a particular rounded cap, the usual mix that this town had always had back to Akbar and before. All appeared to him as if it had been 4 years earlier. There was no sign that what had happened had ever happened. Surely there must be a memorial at least. He walked toward the lake, feeling his heart hammer, his skin burn. His clothes were soaked with his sweat. He drank from the water bottle he had in his day pack, just a sip each time, and yet soon it was empty. Everything pulsed. His eyes stung with sweat. Behind his wraparound sunglasses he was weeping furiously. The polarization of the glasses was not enough to keep bursts of light from shattering in his retinas. Sights incoming like needles in the eyeball, everywhere he looked. The lake was the same. How could it be the same? How could they not have drained it? Built over the site was some mausoleum or temple, or just an apartment block or a bazaar. Then again, who was there to remember what had happened here, or what it had been like that week? There were no survivors to be haunted by this place. As for those who had come in and cleaned it up, disposed of the bodies, well, it had just been one town of many, all of them the same. There was no reason to fixate on this one. No, he was the sole survivor. No one else had seen what he had seen and survived to remember it. For all the people walking on this crowded, narrow sidewalk, this sad little pastiche of a Cornish, he was only what it was today. No sight of a plaque, much less a memorial in the old martial style. He walked back to the bus station. After some thought and a trip to an open-walled store to buy some more bottled water, he walked to his old offices. The building was still there. The offices were occupied by lawyers and accountants and a dentist. Next door was a Nepali restaurant that hadn't been there before. It was just a building. What had happened in those rooms? He sat on the curb, suddenly too weak to stand. He was quivering, put his head in his hands. It was all there in his head, every hour of it, every minute of it. The water tank in that closet. He got up and walked back to the bus station and took the next bus back to Lucknow. There he called the number he had been given. A man answered in Hindi. In his bad Hindi, he asked if he could speak in English, and then switched over when the man said, "Yes, what?" "I was there," Frank said. "I was here during the heat wave. I'm an American. I was with an aid group, here doing development work. I saw what happened. Now I'm back." "Why?" "I have a friend who told me about your group." "What group?" "I was told it's called Never Again, devoted to various kinds of direct action." Silence from the other end. "I want to help," Frank said. "I need to do something." More silence. Finally, the man said, "Tell me where you are." He sat outside the train station for an hour, miserably hot. When it seemed he would wilt and fall, a car drove up to the curb and two young men jumped out and stood before him. "You are the Farangi you called?" "Yes." One of them waved a wand over him while the one who had spoken patted him down. "All right, get in." When he was in the front seat passenger side, the driver took off with a squeal. The men behind him blindfolded him. "We don't want you to know where we are taking you. We won't harm you, not if you are what you say you are." "I am," Frank said, accepting the blindfold. "I wish I weren't, but I am." No replies. The car made several turns, fast enough to throw Frank against the door or the restraint of his seatbelt. A little electric car, quietly humming and quick to speed up or slow down. Then the car stopped, and he was led out and up some steps, into a building. His blindfold was removed. He was standing in... His blindfold was removed. He was standing in a room filled with young men. There was a woman there, too. He saw alone among a dozen men. All of them regarded him curiously. He told them his story. They nodded grimly from time to time, their gleaming eyes fixed on him. Never had he been looked at so intently. When he was done, they glanced at each other. Finally, the woman spoke. "What do you want now?" "I want to join you. I want to do something." They spoke in Hindi among themselves more quickly than he could follow. Possibly it was another language like Bengali or Marathi. He didn't recognize a single word. "You can't join us," the woman told him after they were done conferring. "We don't want you. And if you knew about everything that we did, you might you might not want us. We are the children of Kali, and you can't be one of us, even if you were here during the catastrophe. But you can do something. You can carry a message from us to the world. Maybe that can even help. We don't know. But you can try. You can tell them that they must change their ways. If they don't, we will kill them. That's what they need to know. You can figure out ways to tell them that." "I'll do that," Frank said, "but I want to do more." "Do more then, just not with us." Frank nodded, looked at the floor. He would never be able to explain. Not to these people, not to anyone. "All right then, I'll do what I can." That's chapter 13. I'm going to take a break. So this book starts off, for those of you who are just joining us, this book started off with a fictional but all too potentially real mass casualty event in India that was the result of a heat wave. And the book starts with that, and this man is an aid worker who, as he described, was the sole survivor of that heat wave mass casualty event, which is described in chapter 1. And one of the things I mentioned one of the things he mentions in this latest chapter actually is the feeling when you're in equatorial heat, and I'm sure some of you, I know a lot of you have experienced this before, but when you're in a setting that is that hot, that sensation of breathing in hot air is, if you're not used to it, it can be almost frightening because you don't expect it. You don't expect it to feel like actual burning because the air itself is so very hot, hotter than your body temperature, I guess. I don't know all the science behind it, but that sensation, I can feel that sensation when he describes it. I think it's very intense, and the way he has written this book has been really, I very much, to the degree that I can, or any of us can, it feels like he puts you in those situations. So it's quite a good book. I'm actually curious to read another one of his other science fiction novels now that we've read this. Okay. All right, chapter 14. We had to leave. It was too dangerous to stay. I was a doctor. I ran a small clinic with an assistant and 3 nurses and a couple who ran the office. My wife taught piano and my children went to school. Then rebels from our area began fighting the government and troops moved into town and people were being killed right on the street. Even some kids from the school my children went to. And one day our clinic was blown up. When I went to it and saw the wreckage, looked from the street right into my examination room, I knew we had to leave. Somehow we were on the wrong side. I went to a friend who had been a journalist before the war and asked him if he could put me in touch with a smuggler who would get us on the way to someplace safe. I did not have any particular idea about where that might be. Any place was going to be safer than where we were. When my friend understood what I was asking him, he rounded the table and gave me a hug. "I'm sorry it's come to this," he said. "I will miss you." This stuck me like a knife in the heart. He knew what it meant, this move. I didn't know, but he did. And when I saw this, saw what he knew in his face, I sat down on my chair as if shot. My knees buckled. People say this as a figure of speech, but really, it is a very accurate account of what happens when you get a big shock. It's something in the body, a physiological thing, although I can't explain the mechanism. The smuggler was expensive, so much so that only those who had some considerate savings would be able to leave by using one. Most of my townspeople were stuck, but we could afford it. So I met my friend one night at our usual cafe, and he had a man with him. The man was polite but distant, professional. He asked to see my money, asked about my family, when I could be ready, that sort of thing. He said he could get us into Turkey and then Bulgaria, and after that Switzerland or Germany. I went to the bank and withdrew the money, and then went home and told my wife, and we told the children to pack 1 suitcase each, that we were going on a trip. That night at midnight, a car pulled up to our apartment curb and we went downstairs and put our suitcases in the trunk and piled in the back of the car. As we drove off, I looked out the car window at our apartment and realized I would never see it again. All that was over. I had had my routines. I liked to go down to the cafe after work or late at night when it had cooled, drink coffee and play backgammon and talk to friends. My wife and I got together with a few couples, made meals, and watched their kids. We knew the people who ran the grocery and the local stores. We had all that, just like anyone. I remember what it was like, but just barely. Chapter 15. Taking notes for Badim on a regular Monday meeting of Ministry Executive Group. I'll clean these up later to give to him. Mary Murphy, convening her leadership team in the seminar room next to her office, Hochstrasse. I should have gone to the bathroom. Badim on Mary's left, and then 13 division heads seated around the table, the rest of us behind them against the walls. George is going to fall asleep. Tatiana V., legal. Just heard this morning, World Court declined to take up her Indian case. Not happy. And Benny Howe, infrastructure, poached from Nomcor. Jürgen Utzken, Zerker, gets to commute from his house down the lake. Insurance and reinsurance, Swiss re-vet. Bob Wharton, Nat Cat, American ecologist, mitigation and adaptation. Climate lead, Adele Elia, French coordinating our climate science. Started as a glaciologist, hates meetings like this. Once said so right in meeting. Lived 8 years on glaciers, she said, once back there. As for world cryosphere, it's still melting. Hugh Kaming, ecologist, Hong Kong, biosphere studies, habitat restoration, refugia creation, animal protection, rewilding, biologically based carbon drawdown, watershed governance, groundwater recharge, the commons, the Half-Earth campaign. She can do it all. Esteban Escobar, Chilean, oceans, prone to despair. Elena Quintero, agriculture, Buenos Aires. She and Esteban joke about Argentina-Chile rivalry. She cheers him up very skillfully. Indra Dalit, Jakarta, geoengineering, works with Bob and Jürgen. Dick Bosworth, Australian, economist, a card. Taxes and political economy, our reality check. Janos Athena, AI, internet, and all things digital, very digital themselves. Esmeri Zayed, third of the E-Gals, Jordanian, Palestinian, refugees, liaison to UNHCR. Rebecca Tallhorse, Canada, Indigenous Peoples Rep and Outreach. Mary starts meeting by asking for new developments. Mbeni, looking into plans to redirect fossil fuel companies to do decarbonization projects. Capability strangely appropriate. Extraction and injection both use same tech, just reversed. People, capital, facilities, capacities. All these can be used to collect and inject, either by way of cooperation or legal coercion. Keeps oil companies in business, but doing good things. Tatiana looks interested, rest of group looking skeptical. Carbon capture and reinsertion into empty oil wells are both dubious as a reality. Mary, look into it more. We've got to have it, from what the calculations say about how much the natural methods can grab. Jürgen, insurance companies in a panic at last year's reports. Payouts at about $100 billion a year now, going higher fast, as in hockey stick graph. The insurance companies are insured by reinsurance. Those are now holding the short end of the stick. Tall end of the stick? Can't charge premiums high enough to cover payouts. Nor could anyone afford to pay that much. Lack of predictability means reinsurance companies simply refusing to cover environmental catastrophes, the way they don't insure war or political unrest, etc. So, end of insurance, basically. Everyone hanging out there uninsured. Governments, therefore, payer of last resort. But most governments already deep in debt to finance, meaning also reinsurance companies. Nothing left to give without endangering belief in money. Entire system, therefore, on brink of collapse. Mary, what do you mean collapse? Jürgen, mean money no longer working as money. Silence in the room. Jürgen adds, so you can see why reinsurance hoping for some climate mitigation. We can't afford our world to end. No one laughs. Bob Wharton. Some things we can mitigate, some we can't. Some things we can adapt to, others we can't. Also, we can't adapt to some things we are now failing to mitigate. Need to clarify which is which. Mainly need to tell adaptation advocates they're full of shit. Bunch of economists, humanities professors, they have no idea what they're talking about. Adaptation is just a fantasy. Mary halts Bob's rant very skillfully. Sympathetic squint as she chops air with hand. Preaching to the choir, she suggests. Moves along to Adele and the rest. Adele, you think that's bad? Joke gets the laugh. The big Antarctic glacial basins, mainly Victoria and Totten, hold ice sliding downhill faster and faster. We'll soon be depositing many cubic kilometers of ice into the sea. Now looking like it could happen in a few decades. Sea level rise 2 meters for sure, maybe more, 6 meters? But 2 meters is enough. Doom for all coastal cities, beaches, marshes, coral reefs, many fisheries. Would displace 10% of the world's population, disrupt 20% of food supply. Like a knockout punch to dazed fighter, civilization kaput. Jurgen throws up hands. Cost of this cannot be calculated. Calculate it, Mary orders him. Jay frowns, pondering the big picture in his head. A quadrillion. Yes, really. 1,000 trillion is not too high. Maybe 5 quadrillion. Dick, so just call it infinity. Adele. Number of species threatened with extinction now at Permian levels. Piling on here. Permian, the worst extinction ever. Now on course to match it. Coming. 99% of all meat alive is made of humans and their domestic beasts. Cattle, pigs, sheep, goats. Wild creatures are 1% of the meat alive, and suffering. Many species are gone soon. Mary, soon? Coming, like 30 years. Esteban, only 20% of the fish now in oceans are wild fish. Mary ends discussion, chop chop. Regards, team. Speak slowly. MFTF has the budget of $60 billion US dollars a year. Big. But world GDP is 100 trillion a year. Half that gross world product, I think, GWP, is so-called consumer spending by prosperous people. Means non-essential buying of things that degrade biosphere. Ship going down. Parasite killing host. Even the productive half of GWP, food and health and housing, burning up world. In short, fucked. Team watches her. So, have to find ways to spend our 60 billion that strike at leverage points. Dick, our money is not enough to matter. Have to change the laws, that's our leverage point. Spend our money on changing laws. Tatiana likes this. And Benny, critical infrastructure needs funding. Elena, agriculture improvements. Mary chops the discussion. Chop, chop, chop. Stop. We need to lever change and fast. However we can, by whatever means necessary. Vadim is surprised by this last statement. I'm not sure why. Looks at Mary, surprised. Let's see where we're at. Alright, that is the end of chapter 15. I am going to stop there for tonight and chat a little. But thank you. This is an intense book. I wish we could read it like every night. If I had more energy, I would like read it every night. Maybe I'll try. I don't know. I could probably try. Because I like want to find out what's going to happen. I'm like so excited to find out what's going to happen. I love it. But I don't know. Like obviously this is a very challenging book to read because we're facing these things. Maybe not necessarily in the next 10 years, but I don't know. And I think it's, you know, I did work a little bit in climate at the end of my career, helping a climate, I'm not in climate, but as a nonprofit leader, I helped a small nonprofit that was, whatever, it's a long story. Anyway, sometimes nonprofits sponsor each other and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I was exposed to the climate sector is what we would refer to it as in nonprofit. And I mean, there there are so many brilliant people working around the clock on climate solutions, and it's just this weird, one of the things about nonprofit, I worked in nonprofit for about 22 years, mostly in management, and well, I mean all over. I worked in small nonprofits too, where you sat on a garbage can. I mean, it's not, I don't mean management is fancy, but you know what I mean. But just as a perspective of, and I mean, I raised money for nonprofits too, so part of my job was raising money. And the thing about fundraising, I don't know, fundraising, like nonprofit to me, is very broken, not because the nonprofits are broken. It's because the funders are broken. Sorry. No, I mean, there definitely are some broken nonprofits. I'm not saying that that's not true. It's hard to run a nonprofit. You know what I mean? Like, your salaries can't be huge. You can't like compete necessarily for talent. I mean, you have to compete in other ways, which I always tried to make sure I, like benefits and anyway. Well, I guess that's money too, but anyway. But I like the funding cycle has been broken. You have, individuals at nonprofits whose entire job it is to just try and raise money. And not that that shouldn't happen. But, gosh, I think there's some streamlining that could be done and still have accountability. In fact, I know it. I know it's true. So there's this strange kind of tension between donors and nonprofits. And I mean more like foundations and corporations. I don't mean individuals, but yeah, I got really angry as my career went on with the way foundations and corporations changed their funding guidelines, or, not that, I mean, not mad, but you know what I mean? Like if you are investing in your community, and for a bank, you have an actual law that says you must invest in your community because you have to have some kind of community reinvestment programming. I don't know. I've written a lot of grants in my life, and I have done a lot of grant reporting for large and small foundations and corporations. And it has, there has been a lot of time wasted on stuff that doesn't matter. And people are programs. So this whole thing about, their overhead is so high. Overhead is people. When they say overhead, what they mean is salaries. That's all they mean. That's all that nonprofits have that are, whatever. Programs are people. They're not paper. They're not buildings. I mean, they are, but they aren't. They're people. So nonprofits should be able to pay their people and not have to hold it some weird kind of ratio that doesn't make any sense in the real world and isn't how anybody handles their finances. You can only spend 10% of your entire budget on salaries. But I'm running an after-school program, and that means I'm paying after-school people. That's not paper. Those aren't buildings. Those are people. Anyway, long story, long complaint. I just don't think, I think that it's, I don't know. So this book also is interesting from that standpoint about how nonprofits operate in the world. And what we just read, the chapter we just read, was about the actual ministry for the future, which is established as a result of climate disasters in the world, apparently in this book. And this group is faced with the end of civilization, so they have to figure out how to respond. So we're gonna follow them as they make that journey in this book. But yeah, but it's Monday, and Monday's over. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I so appreciate it. I look forward to this. Sometimes I used to get scared in the past when I started shows, and like Friday nights were really hard for me for some reason when I would do the lounge. Like I would have a panic attack or something. And right now, somehow it's getting easier. Not easier all the time, but so far so good. Anyway, you're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. All right. So I will see you. I'll see you tomorrow night. I don't know what's happening tomorrow. I know I have a lash appointment in the morning, so I won't be on in the morning. But we'll see what happens throughout the day. Wednesday is busy. Holy shit, y'all. Wednesday we have I might have 3 things scheduled for Wednesday. Thursday, I have 1. Friday, we have 2. Maybe we only have 1. Friday, I don't know if there's anything Friday morning. I can't tell. There might be something on the schedule. And then, okay, wait, listen. Special announcement for loungers. I have a Zoom account, and I would like to watch movies together on that Zoom account. And I have set one for this Saturday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, I think. 6 p.m. Pacific. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to, but I'm thinking of doing Bad Faith, which is the documentary about the rise of white supremacy, nationalism, Christian nationalism. I don't know. I don't know everything about the documentary, but it's supposed to be very, very good. So I have limited seating for a Zoom where you don't have to be on camera, but you do need to email me for an invitation because I'm not going to give invitations to everybody. But if you email me, and I'll put up a few notices on this, but basically it'll be like, I guess, email me and I'll give you the code for Saturday night. And again, you don't have to have your camera. You don't have to have your voice on. You don't have to have anything. You just watch. In fact, I think I disabled cameras for people when they come in and muted them. So you'd have to unmute and do your camera. Anyway, I hope you'll join us. I hope you'll join us for all of it. Friday, Lolo's Lounge, trivia, spaced out trivia. You can't miss that. You can't miss it. You have to be there. I have to be there. If I have to be there, you have to be there. And then I have to go outside. Oh my God. I need to go protest. I need to go. I have a couple of protests that I want to do. I have a song I need to record. I have a lot of things to do this week. I have a lot. I need to get my fucking act together. That's what I need to do. All right. So, I want to thank you again for coming. I cannot wait to see you next time. I'll see you on the Twitters. Thanks again for the Twitter viewers to come. I really appreciate you. And most wonderful thanks to my beautiful loungers for making my day every day. Seriously. I'm really grateful. So, all right. I'm gonna do my thing now. I'm gonna put that music on. It's time to put that goddamn fucking outro on. Let's do it. Sweet dreams.